For me, the field means everything, because in the field we find nourishment, connection. It gives us that tranquility, that therapeutic action when you arrive and feel that being there, you do not need anything else. You have everything, and it is like the tranquility of knowing that where you are, you will have around you many things that can be your food, but can also be like your tranquility or your source of inputs to relax and to discover that nature is so wise, that everything is made in the perfect way to flow and work without anything else, without any kind of addition, so to speak. My name is Yuly Forero. We are in the experimental organic garden workshop, where we are going to live an experience to learn to know, have direct contact with nature, and start growing our own food. It is a company from Santander. We are certified as a green business. Our main function is to provide training services where we teach people to grow their own food. We also have a variety of other workshops, but all are linked to the theme of sustainability, organic production, and resource use. The idea of Cultivando Vida was born in 2016. At the beginning of the year, we have always been farmers, and we are here in this area of Playón. We had this space of land, but we only grew conventional crops such as bananas, cassava, corn, and we had not given the opportunity to other types of crops like this one we have now, because my dad said that to grow this type of plant you needed many inputs, pesticides and fertilizers. Taking advantage of the fact that I was still studying, we had the opportunity with the Universidad Santo Tomás to participate in a call for proposals from concesionarias, and there what we did was to learn a little more about how to bring organic agriculture to areas similar to this space, reduced in rural and urban areas. Thanks to this participation with this call from concesionarias, I brought the idea here and we started with my dad to make seed beds to try and test. In the trial and error experience, we realized that it was possible, and then we wanted to replicate it and take it to the cities. We started to invite people to get involved in the initiative. The company is a family business. We are constantly working. My parents, for example, are the people who are in charge of making the seed beds, collecting the fruits to later extract the seeds, and I am in charge of all the consulting and training. My husband works in the accounting and financial area, so the company as such works very familiar. We are like a synergy and we are linked to the process. We know what is done from the seeding stage to the final stage, where people receive training in our workshops. Teacher: I want you to come in here, tell me your name, and we are going to do a sensory experience. What does a sensory experience consist of? I have some aromatic herbs. You close your eyes, give me your hand, I put a twig, you hold it to your nose, rub it and try to decipher without seeing what aroma it is. We do this because when we activate our sense of smell, we are immediately activating our whole body to be able to learn what we are going to see today. Female Voice 2. It is a company that was linked to the greenhouse business window since 2019. Transmits a message of environmental education where it promotes the cultivation in small spaces in an organic and agroecological way that allows food security for the entire community. It was verified with resources from the European Union. Accompanied by a professional from the CDMB, possibilities have been opened to communicate the message in different talks, universities, and academic agendas, organized by other entities that belong to our regional actors and have been working to improve, disseminate, and promote green businesses as that sector of the economy that we must consolidate at local, regional and national level. I am very happy to be here and really encouraged to learn to grow. Okay, 0 to 10, how much? I would say 5, but let's see. Give me your hand, close your eyes, bring it to your nose. Is it mint? Do you have another option? It's not mint. You don't have to see. Here the public says it's easy. Doing green business for us is to work hand in hand with the environment, social, economic, but especially for my profession in the environment. Respect all ecosystems, all forms of life, and show people that you can have a business, especially in the production of vegetables and herbs that is clean and organic. We really like the topic of green business because it allows us to reach more people, and those who see that we have this certification give them more credibility and confidence. We have obtained great achievements, and we have liked belonging to the window because the people of the CDMB are very attentive to nurture us with information and link us to activities so that more people get to know us. We have the support of a professional who guides us and is giving us the baseline to continue and improve every day. The field is what feeds us, but we also have to start doing our bit at home. First, to know the process, and second, to value the work done by farmers, because sometimes it is easy to get to the market and say, but why is it so expensive, or sell it cheaper? It is very difficult. That experience of growing food allows one to say, man, producing a tomato takes a lot of time and work. A girl who was in a workshop, they gave her tomatoes and she said to me, look how beautiful they are. And I said to her, Daniela, how much do you sell me a pound of tomatoes for? She said, the truth, Yuly, 50,000 pesos, because with all that it has cost me to make and get this pound of tomatoes, or not, I sell them better. The importance of promoting this type of business is to reach a more trained community, where its main objective is to be able to form from homes all the implementation of organic gardens and environmental awareness. Not only cultivating, but the entire production cycle of these gardens, so that all wastes generated in the life cycle can be reincorporated into this process. Female voice 1. Does anyone know which one is the arugula? Who knows which one is the basil? Does anyone know which one is the basil? Yes, Diana has it. We are also in the process of rescuing seeds. For example, we have the long bean seed that is not available in the market because we have the short bean. We are trying not to lose the agricultural identity that we have in the country and return to growing what our grandparents ate. Because if we make a comparison between today and 50 years ago, we no longer eat the same. We are importing food and filling the fields of our lands with it. I feel that the fact that I grew up here in the municipality, away from the big cities, connects me in some way or another more with the countryside. I've always been very interested in processes that have to do with flowers, agriculture, planting, and expanding my knowledge on the subject seems to me a great opportunity. I feel that this is the most creative and interesting thing I've done. The experience has been great, and I feel that everyone who came here was nurtured in a very good way, and they are eager to implement what we learned. We left very motivated to start our own garden. My mum was also part of the workshop, and we were already thinking about where we are going to get the sand, what we are going to plant, because we are taking the seeds and the plants. The idea is that in a few months, we can show our product and tell the world if we did it. We could do it. Have you heard of fertilizers? Yes, of course. Compost is all the fertilizers and nutrients that plants need. But black soil is a soil as such. Soil and compost will always be different in concepts. In appearance, they may look the same, but in concepts, it is different because soil is in the ground. For example, that is earth, or there is also earth there. But compost is that special preparation that has the necessary nutrients for the plants to have what they need to feed themselves. That is to say, the soil will be only the carbohydrates, but the proteins and vitamins are in the compost. I explain this because sometimes we go to the nurseries and they tell us, I sell you the fertilizer to sow, but with fertilizer we do not sow. What it does is only to nourish. We must always prepare a substrate that will contain 3 parts of soil to 1 part of compost. That is the ideal mixture to prepare it. Here it is, already prepared, and you have already prepared your substrate. Then I want you to open the bags. Touch that soil, smell it. It should have a smell like forest, earth, field. That is what the soil we are going to use should smell like. The compost you are going to get can be either compost, worm castings, or any type of compost that is extracted from animal manure but is well composted. The experience is totally gratifying. We always seek to bring the countryside closer to the city, and for example, in this municipality, which is not a city part and still preserves large patios where you can grow crops, we like to see how people have decided to take that action to try, to see what comes out of the earth, how the seeds are transformed into plants, and above all, to change that chip we have of the conventional, the easy, the quick, and return to the ancestral practices of growing food in patios, wherever you can. Wherever there is land and space, people will have the opportunity to discover how the processes of nature work. We have already seen the subject of seeds. We have already seen the subject of the substrate. Now we are going to talk about how to make the seed bed. I gave you 2 pots, but we are going to use especially the coconut fiber pot. This one does not have holes, but whenever we are going to make a seed bed, the ideal is that the pot has holes where the water can drain. In this case, no, because it is natural. Here the water comes out and we will not have a problem, but we can reuse it. What we do is that we fill our pot with a substrate. All flush we are going to do to start planting. The truth is that everything that has to do with plants have always caught my attention. Wanting to expand my knowledge, in this case about organic vegetable gardens, I wanted to come and learn a little. I think it is very interesting and important that we begin to take an interest in this subject, to plant and manage our own food. Before sowing, it is always better to moisten the soil, to put water in it, so that the sowing process is easier, to make the holes, to arrange the seeds, and so on. We are going to make the holes to put the seeds in, so as it is a small pot, we cannot make many holes, nor are we going to put too many seeds, so we only make 2 holes. The size of the holes will always depend on the size of the seed, as we are going to sow small seeds. For example, basil or tomato. You can choose any of those, or we can make a variety in the seed bed. These seeds are small. We are going to handle an average hole, that is to say, up to where our fingernail starts. We make 2 holes separated one from the other, not so big. A seed will always give us plant, but to guarantee the sowing, we'll put 2 seeds for each hole. The workshops are theoretical practical. We are always focused on sustainable organic production and on highlighting food safety points. In the workshop, we explain to people from the seed how they can transform these seeds into plants and how they can take care of them. The options we give them are agroecological with options. that they have at home. That is, that the pots can be made with recyclable materials, that fertilizers and repellents can be made with organic inputs and whatever we have at hand to reduce costs, because sometimes we think that having a garden costs a lot and it does not. We give them many options. We always bring them closer to the process. That is to say, we must smear our hands with soil, smell the plants and enjoy all that nature gives us, so that connection is better. And so that at the end of the workshop, the participants have a clear idea of what they can sow, how they can sow it, and what they will harvest later on. Let's go to the orchard to make a more experimental process. Welcome, keep going. We are going to be able to set up in the spaces such as the corridors to tell them first what we have planted here and to do some harvesting and pruning exercises. This is our vegetable garden, a small space, no more than 6 square meters. It is built especially for the cultivation of the house. That is to say, of us who are more or less 7 people. The spaces are elaborated according to the distance of the plant that we are planting. Here we can find, starting in this part, is cilantro. If you want to come, we can look at the cultivation of cilantro. It is a plant that is sown especially from seed. What my father does here is that he sows the waxes. He puts the seeds so that he does not have to transplant again. It is possible to sow and transplant again, but it is better to sow directly. Cilantro is a herb with fine stems that does not need much distance. If you notice here, it is planted with many rows in a row. I want you to please smell and taste the cilantro. In the case of lettuce, if you notice, it is beginning to gleam because it has been too hot and the thermal sensation is not very favorable for this type of crop. The paprika has flowers, that is where they are going to come out. If we notice here, I already vote the petals and begin to form the small fruit. This is a warm zoned crop that grows very well, and once it begins to drop fruit, we must put a tutor. In this case, it is to put a wand or hang it as cucumbers and tomatoes are hung so that the fruits will not break the plant and will not break it. Here in this row we have arugula, a very popular vegetable in the gastronomic sector. This type of arugula is wild. Its leaves are larger, it is spicy, it is very herbal. The idea is that you can try it. Over there we have mint and thyme. Here I wanted to comment on something very important. The issue of crop development, which is always to go towards a theme or not just one crop, but to have variety. As you can see here, we have more than 10 species, and once we remove that arugula, which will be this week because it is ready, we are not going to plant arugula there again, but something else. We have to rotate. The issue of crop rotation allows soils not to lose fertility. That is why in many places people say, my soil is not the same. It does not give. It is necessary to put a lot of fertilizer. That is why they do the same thing for many years and the plants consume certain types of nutrients and also fix some diseases. So we have to rotate. I need 4 volunteers. We are going to harvest parsley, arugula. A clarification, we can cut it from the root or we can only cut it up to here and it re-sprouts. Arugula, lettuce and cilantro have this quality, which is from the entrance. We are going to harvest lettuce. We are going to harvest tomatoes. Whenever a fertilizer is going to be applied, it is not a matter of applying the fertilizer and watering over it, but I must activate the soil. That is to say, I put and remove everything that is here around the soil, and at the moment I put the fertilizer and stir it again so that the plant receives all the nutrients. Here we are going to review the process of how to compost. That is, how we are going to compost our organic waste. We have an in-ground composter. However, you can make an in-vessel composter. It is under a roof because it must be protected from rain and vectors. Here it is lined with plastic to control the humidity of the bricks. The compost is made up of 3 layers. The first is a dry layer. Underneath this, and you can still see there is a rice chaff. We can also put sawdust and leaf litter, whatever we have, easier on the farm or in the house. What the dry layer does is that it allows all the decomposition of waste, all that moisture to be absorbed. It works like a sponge, but it also controls the odor issue. You can notice that it does not smell bad. It is controlled thanks to that first layer of dry layers. You can also use cardboard or paper. The second layer is going to be all our residues. Here we make the clarification that there is no type of vegetable or fruit residue that should not be thrown in, because sometimes people discard citrus fruits because of the smell, but onions and tomatoes are always welcome. What can we do if we have too much citrus? Dehydrate them. That is to say, we take out the peels, chop them, and put them a little bit in the sun. There we lower the citric concentration that they have, because they can vary in smell. Everything can be placed in terms of vegetable and fruit residues. We are not going to put cooked food. If we want to make a compost of cooked food, it can be done, but never mix fresh and cooked vegetables. And it should be covered with a small layer of compost or soil to neutralize and control the proliferation of vectors. I mean, little flies, especially fruit flies, like to come and lay their eggs, and these larvae, especially when they are in the house, are annoying because they come out maggots, and nothing wants to have maggots in the house. This would be very useful in all the farms or restaurants that are in green areas to take advantage of the waste, because all the plants are fertilized with compost. Even the avocados, the banana plants, everything is fertilized with compost, and it has the advantage that it is a fertilizer and at the same time it is a substrate. After 2 months it is ready, but before I forget, it is necessary to turn it over. That is to say, one comes with a shovel and begins to stir it in order to activate it. This can be done every 8 or 15 days. You will say, but then why do you say layers? Layers are not that we are going to sell a compost dessert. What we want is a necessary ingredient so that there is a balance between decomposition and lychate generation and so on. For example, 2 months have passed. I started it on August 27, and on October 27 and today, October 27, it also generated residues. You will find in all that mixture, in all that compost production, what is already in the soil. So you are going to take out and you have to sift. I recommend sifting so that only quality compost comes out, a soft compost, and the rest is left to compost. White worms called beetle larvae will appear. They are not bad for the compost, but they are bad for our plants. So sifting will always prevent us from taking small animals to the plants, but in the process of decomposting, it is very good. Although sometimes we do not see bugs or worms, the thing about the ecosystem is that nature has many living things and each one has a function. So how do we find that balance? It is very important that there are leaders, that there are people guiding us in their processes, that they show us and teach us that it can be done easily, in a very fruitful way. I feel it is important because there is also a way to contribute to the impact that we make, to try to reduce a little more everything that has to do with the environment and gas emissions. On the economic side, to understand the work of the farmers, to understand the effort and the role that each factor plays in the agricultural sector. I feel that it is very important to highlight and continue to learn what is important. We want to transform above all the cities into spaces where food can be produced on balconies, patios, windows, terraces. That the city is not only asphalt and cement, but that we also have the possibility of reaching and transforming all these places into areas of production of crops for gardens and reach many parts of the world, because we will always have food. We are always going to feed ourselves, and what better than to return these natural, clean food practices, and if you grow it, you will enjoy that food much more. Well, thank you very much for accepting the invitation, for participating in this workshop. We know that there are many topics to finish nurturing and learning. We are going to be watching to accompany you in the process, and we want you to have a better idea of how you can learn and enjoy growing food from home with this experience that we have had today. It is not a task that only our farmers can do, but we can also contribute a grain of sand to the agricultural sovereignty of our country. I do not know if you have any doubts, any concerns. Any congratulations are most welcome. Many congratulations. I would like us to take a picture of all of us there with the plants as a souvenir.